At the end of every year, you see most content creators and gaming sites making videos about one of two topics. Those being the best games of the year and the most anticipated games of the following year. As much as I like watching other people make these lists, I can't make them myself. I certainly don't have enough time and money to play every interesting looking game released in a specific year during that year, and both times I tried to make an anticipated games list, most of the games didn't get released that year. So I'm deciding to flip the script, and will instead be talking about the game from last year that I'm most excited to play. So let's get going, starting with... I first heard about Beyond Citadel in a Blue Sky post by Chris Pearson, stating that recommending Beyond Citadel is like recommending the Monogatari series, in the sense that you are objectively correct about the artistic validity of the work, but unless you are dealing with a pervert, you need to give like 20 distinct warnings. This was enough to convince me to purchase this game and its prequel, The Citadel, which I have reviewed on the Guardian Acorn blog. In all honesty, the reason that Beyond Citadel is only at number 10 is because The Citadel didn't really impress me. I did get some enjoyment out of The Citadel, but I mainly played it because I wanted to play this one, and the whole OCD thing doesn't really let me skip to a sequel. I have heard almost nothing but good things about Beyond Citadel, and it currently lists overwhelmingly positive reviews on Steam. The fact that the story is a major step up from the first game is what really has my interest, though the gameplay being built upon is also a good sign. And yes, the Arrow Guru elements do help. Let it be known that I, Annie Gallagher, love Moe Slop. This is the newest entry in the Maro Monogatari series, a JRPG series that has its roots back in the 80s and has had only one installment localized back in 2013 as Sorcery Saga Curse of the Great Curry God. What is also of note is that Sega's Puyo Puyo series is a spin-off of this same series. On top of this, the game is developed by Sting, who is most known for their Department Heaven series, which features games such as Riviera the Promised Land, Igdra Union, Nights in the Nightmare, and Gungnir. While I have heard some say that the gameplay is fairly average, I have been a fan of Idea Factory titles in the past, so I could probably enjoy this one, but really I'm interested in this one because it looks cute.
This time, I have to press forward and trust in my decision.
Out of every JRPG released in 2025, if we're excluding sequels and remakes, the one I heard the most people talk about was Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The one I heard the second most about was the 100-line Last Defense Academy. The 100-line is an SRPG where 15 teenagers are recruited into the titular Last Defense Academy, where they need to protect the school from grotesque monsters for 100 days. From what I've read, there is also some visual novel elements where, depending on the choices made during the initial 100 days, the second half of the game changes, leading to multiple routes depending on different characters. The game's two directors are Katsutaka Kodaka, responsible for the Danganronpa series, and Kotaro Uchikoshi, responsible for Ever 17 and the Zero Escape series. The latter's pedigree seems more appealing, so yes, premise is interesting and it has reviewed well, so I'm definitely interested in seeing how this one turns out.
The field has been completely redesigned with HD background graphics and updated character illustrations. An epic story spun anew after 30 years. Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Gate Rune and Dunen Unification Wars. On sale March 6th.
Yeah, expect a lot of JRPGs on this list. I like JRPGs, okay? And I put things I like on lists I write, unless it's a list of things I don't like. Anyway, this is a remaster of two classic PS1 JRPGs, one of which, Suikoden 2, is commonly considered one of the greatest JRPGs of all time. If you are surprised that I haven't played a Suikoden game, despite being a massive JRPG fan, then you clearly don't know how many fucking JRPGs there are. Suikoden has 5 mainline installments, 3 spin-offs that are still JRPGs, and some visual novel spin-offs. Also, both games let you recruit over 100 different characters. Gonna be honest, that's a bit much for me, and the critical acclaim is the main reason they make this list. I feel like this one sort of speaks for itself, but I will also add that the updated visuals are fucking gorgeous. I don't really know what else to say. A person who likes JRPGs wants to play highly acclaimed classic JRPGs. I don't really know much about the story since I want to avoid spoilers, so I can't say much there. We'll also add that the lack of new content is why this is only number 7.
An empty blueprint represents a world of possibilities.
I give and bequeath to my grandnephew all of my right, title, and interest in the house and land which I own near Mount Holly.
While Blueprint hasn't gotten as much attention as games like Clair Obscur, Silksong, or Hades 2, I've noticed that those who have played it seem to hold it in especially high regard, which is precisely what caught my interest. What I know about Blueprint is that it's a roguelike puzzle game. I don't know many details about the story, but it's clearly had an impact on the people who have played it. What I find interesting about this game, based on reviews I've seen, is how alienating it seems to be to a lot of people, but it looks like it is so by intent. I know for a fact that this will be a love it or hate it game for me, especially considering that I've struggled with puzzle games in the past. But at the same time, I've been told that this game is based around investigations, observing surroundings, and taking notes, which does sound engaging on a level that games aren't usually about. It's also risky because who in the fuck wants to take notes while playing video games? Don't we play games to escape shit like this? Well, some of us like to be challenged, and there are some times where I'm in the mood for something like this, and other times where I won't be. I feel like this is without a doubt the riskiest game on this list, but sometimes the risk is what's most exciting.
Everyone, let's go!
And we are back to JRPGs. The Legend of Heroes series has 17 installments in it, and 12 of those installments are in the Trails sub-series, which is also the only ones people seem to care about. Anyway, I have not played a game in this series, but the first game, Trails in the Sky, just got remade from the ground up, so this is the perfect chance for me to get into the series. I am running into the same issue here as I am with talking about the Suikoden remasters, where I don't know how to spread out "this is a critically acclaimed game and one of my favorite game genres" into 2 paragraphs, but this one makes the list primarily because there's a lot more changes to this one than there was in the Suikoden remasters. While the Suikoden remasters are basically the same games with a fresh coat of paint, the Trails in the Sky remake is basically an entirely new game following the same storyline, but with new story elements, added content, and remade in 3D with modern graphical settings. Oh, and the battle system is in line with recent entries. While I'm sure the original still holds up, the fact that there's so much effort put into improving on it drastically increases my interest in it.
And now! Play nicely now!
The timeless adventures that define a genre return. Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D Remake. Available now.
So, we have the 3rd JRPG remake to make this list, but there's something different about this one. Namely, I have played Dragon Quest 1 and 2, and I've even covered them on my blog. That being said, I'm choosing to include this remake due to the added story and gameplay content, and simply because the first 2 Dragon Quest games lend themselves so much more to complete reimaginings than most JRPGs. There is a common predicament with remakes of JRPGs in that sometimes I'm more overwhelmed by the prospect of their existence depending on how much has changed. One of the biggest examples for me is Persona 3 Reload, given how massive the original already was, and the fact that I have not even played Persona 4 or 5 yet. Meanwhile, there's something much more ubiquitous about the first 2 Dragon Quest games that grabs my attention in a way that your typical JRPG remake doesn't. In fact, it's likely that both Suikoden 2 and Trails in the Sky may resonate with me more as works of art, but there's also something that's more approachable about Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Surely I'm not alone in the feeling that I'm sometimes intimidated by a massive RPG with hundreds of hours of runtime.
Let's see what this reimagining has to offer. Ooh, new areas to test your skills and moves. You guys move better, making platforming look easy. Just look at them go. A treasure tracker. Hunting pages just got easier. And wait, 300 pages?
You know, there are some times where I suspect that 3D collectathon platformers are my favorite genre, but I don't know if that's because of the general shortage of them. I do know that I tend to dislike bad collectathons a lot more than bad JRPGs, though, those being what I've considered my favorite game genre for over a decade. Anyway, it's worth noting that Donkey Kong Bonanza was originally going to be number 1 on this list, but then I actually started playing it last month, and now I have 100% of the game, so it isn't eligible. What is eligible is Yooka-Replay-Ly, a complete overhaul of the original Yooka-Laylee, which was a game that I already loved to death. Considering that people who hated the first game have loved this one, this leads me to believe that this is either a masterpiece or an overcorrection, and even if it's the latter, it's still probably going to have a lot of shit I like. But just seeing that there's new content and 200 more PGs, I actually am making sure I write this entire section before I start playing it, because it's what I will be playing next, and holy shit, I'm so excited.
I know it seems absurd to offer oblivion as recompense, but she'll never paint again.
Okay, here it is. The one that everyone expected to be number 1, with exception to my usual viewership, who knows that I have a stubborn habit of never going with the obvious choice because conformity is poison. But in all seriousness, this isn't just me being a contrarian, as I did manage to find one other game that pushes all the right buttons for me in a way that makes me even more excited to play it than the one that literally everyone says is one of the best games in my favorite game genre of all time. I've actually gone ahead and limited my knowledge to this game just so I can be surprised by as much as possible. For God fucking sake, the music in that trailer gives me goosebumps. Quite literally, the only thing working to this game's disadvantage is that I have this weird habit with JRPGs in particular where, if they are highly acclaimed enough, I will become intimidated by the prospect of playing them. Though I admit this mainly happens with longer JRPGs. The 2 prime examples I've thought of in this regard were Persona 4 and 5, even though Persona 3 blew me away, and fittingly enough, Persona 5 was probably the last time that the gaming community hyped up a JRPG as much as this one. I will make sure that I get to this one soon, though, even if it means putting off Persona 4 and 5 even longer.
By touching their hearts with your words, you might be able to save their souls. Your journey begins here, in this strange and dangerous wonderland. Stray Children, a bittersweet fairy tale RPG. Coming October 30th.
So, this is what beats out Clair Obscur for me, huh? Based on that trailer, you're probably wondering why I think some Undertale knockoff is so special. Well, I'll put it this way. Undertale is among my favorite games of all time. And I don't mean my favorite as in top 20, I'm talking top 3. And my favorite game is Earthbound, which was one of Undertale's key inspirations. What isn't as widely known, however, was that Undertale was also inspired by a then obscure Japan-only RPG called Moon, RPG Remix Adventure, which shared a similar premise in both its tone and the fact that you can befriend monsters instead of fighting them. The studio behind Moon, Lovedelic, initially went defunct back in 2000. Yet the success of Undertale and Toby Fox speaking to Moon's lead designer, Yoshio Kimura, convinced him to port Moon to modern platforms and to localize it. I have yet to play Moon RPG Remix Adventure, but I will be making a point to do so within this year. But you might be wondering what this has to do with Stray Children if you didn't pick up on the fact that it's developed by Yoshio Kimura's Team Onion Games, or that it's a spiritual successor to Moon RPG Remix Adventure yet. But that's not the only reason it's number 1. The idea of a game set in a world called Childonia that's populated only by children and where the adults are all monsters will come across as whimsical to some and creepy to others. That being said, I need to emphasize just how much a premise like this speaks to me at this point in time in particular. For the past 3 years, I've more or less had to spend time documenting and writing about the type of people that are normally subject to true crime documentaries. This experience has left me with a newfound respect for the innocence of children and hatred for the type of people that would tarnish it. And this was before recent political events. Traumatizing political events regarding the mass exploitation and abuse of children by our most powerful elites. Personally, having been subject to child abuse myself, and having known many others who have, it's become hard to not view the world in this simplistic black and white view that this game seems to present. And there it is. I don't know for sure that Stray Children is the best game from last year, but the fact that it speaks to me this much, and I haven't even played the damn thing. Games like this are why I'm thorough with videos like this, because I almost missed this one. And now that the main list is over, here's some honorable mentions. Doom: The Dark Ages. It fell a bit since I actually played Doom Eternal, which I felt wore out its welcome by the time I finished the DLC episodes. Also, I can't play it because no PS5 and my PC can't run it. Oddventure. A very nice looking Earthbound clone, but I don't play early access titles. Finish your games, please. Henpri. This game has a premise that really speaks to me, and it's one of the highest rated titles on VNDB, but I got very burnt out on visual novels in the past year. Mojika, Truth Rears Its Ugly Head, has a fucked up premise by a team that has an amazing track record, but visual novel burnout. Off would have probably been around number 3 or 4 if I didn't make a point to not include ones from the first list. Shantae Advance, Risky Revolution. My only experience with the series is playing the original and rage quitting partway through. The other games look nice though. Demon School. There's going to be a lot of indie RPGs that look interesting, but will never overtake established classics in the genre. Dreamed Away. Yeah, this is another one of those Earthbound likes. Lunar Remastered Collection. Played and loved both of the originals. Not enough changes for me to include it though. Sea Fantasy. It's mostly the beautiful art style that has me interested. I'm not particularly crazy about fishing, but I'm not opposed either. Necopara After. Visual novel burnout. The Shell Part 3 Paradiso. Visual novel burnout, and haven't read Part 2 yet. Two Heart. Visual novel burnout. Kingdoms of the Dump. Another indie RPG love letter. This one is more unique in its setting though. Octopath Traveler 0. I haven't played the first 2 yet, but this game looks badass. My Little Puppy. What is this game even about? It is overwhelmingly positive on Steam, but is it because it's good, or is it just because there's cute corgis? Full Metal Schoolgirl. Yeah, that title alone ensures that it piques my interest. Shrine's Legacy. Another JRPG love letter. It looks nice, but I haven't even played a lot of the classic JRPGs that influence these games. Quartet. I've actually heard a lot of really good things about this one, and it just barely made the list proper, but I have a copy of the dev's previous game, Shadows of Atoms, that I'd like to complete first. Hopeless Junction. Nadia Nova's games have a tendency to be both erotic and traumatizing, yet not in the way that erotic visual novels are usually those two things. Final Fantasy Tactics: The Evil East Chronicles. This just barely missed the list proper. Wonder Stars. Once again, this one is mainly here because it's beautiful looking. Silent Hill F. No PS5 and computer can't run it. Hollow Knight Silk Song. Haven't played the first game yet. Hades 2. Haven't played the first game yet. Tori Saturn. It looks good, but Tori games have never been especially deep. 3 Wishes. Haven't read Lily's Night Off yet. And also visual novel burnout. Donkey Kong Bonanza. Already completed it. What in Hell is Bad? PC version released this year, but it's apparently a terrible port, so I'm just going to go with the mobile version if I play it. Also, those boys are hot. This is a lesbian speaking. Karen Mater's Curse. Another Earthbound clone, which means I'm somewhat interested at least. Artist Impact. It's pretty. Ender Magnolia. Bloom in the Mist. Haven't played the first game yet. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Never finished Prime 2 or played Prime 3. Nubby's Number Factory. Something tells me that this game is going to be incredibly addictive and that if I play it, I'll end up having hundreds of hours in it. The Flayed Man. Horrifying looking point and click, therefore interesting. Layla. Had I known about this one before I wrote the main list, there's a less than 0 chance it would have made it. Holy shit, this looks beautiful. Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I haven't played a Ninja Gaiden game before, but this looks dope. Her Love Like Poison. Okay, the only thing I know about this visual novel is this screenshot that its developer keeps sharing, and that's already enough. Oh god. Psycho, Giantess Dating Sim. The Steam page lists this as the deepest journey into a developer's proclivities in indie gaming history. Fuck, this may have made the list had I known about it earlier. No, I'm not human. Oh what, we're back to games that just look like good games instead of making me horny? Antioma. Notice how my favorite games seem to either be whimsical or horrifying. I hate my waifu streamer. And we're back to horniness. Maid of Salvation. If you asked me to point out something interesting about this game that wasn't the maid, I wouldn't be able to. I just know what I'm about. SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide. I didn't like the cosmic shape, but I hear this changes some of the things I didn't like about that game. Milano's Odd Job Collection. This doesn't look like a particularly deep game, but it does look fun. You Are Not Bunny Girl. Don't tell me how to live my life. Killer Chat. It's a serial killer flirting simulator. That's so hot. Anomalous Coffee Machine. I don't think this game is about coffee. Galaxy Princess Zorana. It's pretty and it has lesbians. I can be a simple woman sometimes. Look Outside. I have a very strong fascination with horror RPGs, and this looks amazing. Unluckily in Love, Fragments of Love. Admittedly, this one flew under my radar, not due to the game's quality, but due to the aforementioned visual novel Burnout and the fact that its developer, Ebihime, puts out a lot of them. That being said, I'm choosing to mention it here because homophobes started report bombing it on Steam, and I think you should all Streisand effect the fuck out of it. Also, I think it looks cute, especially the artwork, which Ebihime has always been great at. Anyway, that concludes my excuse to showcase a bunch of interesting looking games without having to spend hundreds of hours to play them all, even though I really want to, but can't because there's only so many hours in a day, and I don't doubt that there's probably more I missed. So this is my first video on this channel, but I've actually been creating game reviews since 2013, which have just been in written form, which doesn't seem to draw in as much attention these days, which is why I'm starting to branch out. Anyway, please subscribe and like and favorite, share and hype and comment on the video and all those other annoying things that every creator asks you for, but are needed to experience any growth, and please consider financially supporting me on Fanbox or Ko-fi. I will see you all next time.